Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Woman to Woman TV show. This evening, we're talking about boundaries. And boundaries is a very critical topic in my mind because everything that you do in life involves some boundaries. Everything. And a lot of times we don't acknowledge that. So I wanted to bring this topic to the floor because I thought that it would be a good way for us to look at how we interact with one another on a daily basis and how we establish boundaries as we go through these in and out these interactions. So now, what about when you're talking to someone person to person and they step to you more than 3 feet in front of your face? They come too close. I have a tendency to put my hand up. Hey, hold it. So you go too close for comfort. That's you've stepped into my boundary. You stepped past my boundary. There are all kind of boundaries. You know, they're verbal boundaries. You know, you're in a room, you're a female, you're in a room full of males. They're verbal boundaries. There are things you just don't say because I'm in the room. They're physical boundaries, their mental boundaries. Let's talk about boundaries and how we handle putting people or keeping people in their boundaries, in the boundaries we've established for ourselves. What say you? Let's introduce ourselves. Tell us who you are, Lawanza. And
Oh,
1 minute. Don't
one
take us
minute.
on the ride. 1 minute.
Hey, I'm a guy who works hard all day, for 8 hours, and after I break, from work, I kind of chill out and get on the internet and look at stuff, try to keep up the current events, what's happening in the Trump trial. I don't think they need to ding them on this one. It's more serious stuff, they can get them on. Uh, and I go out and listen to some jazz music when I do. Getting ready for the summer. Looking for me a new place. And I'm about getting my money on.
Right. All right. So Grady, introduce us to you and tell us a little bit about what you're doing these days.
I retired last year, so I'm semi-retired. I'm only working 4 hours a day. I made 66 Saturday, so I'm not.
Congratulations.
I, so I told everybody that came to my little celebration. I said to these people, we party and all that, and I finally said to them, I said, my greatest fear is that I don't want to die. Leave here and take all that information with me. I done got bumps all over my head. Y'all don't see them, but I got them. So you talk about boundaries. I think that's one of the problems you mentioned. It's so funny you should mention that. I think one of the problems when you talk about boundaries, you're supposed to learn boundaries at home.
Yes, you are.
You're supposed to learn that at
But what
home.
if you don't? What if you don't because
You be out of order.
yep, what if you don't because your parents, for whatever reason, I noticed that when people live together and when they get mad at each other, they take things out of boundary. They start talking about start talking about things that you normally wouldn't talk about in front of the kids, and if you got guests in the house, in front of the guests. And so the kids are looking at this and they're saying, that must be all right to do that because mama did it.
Oh, well,
Daddy
let me
did
tell
it.
you,
Mama just got through talking about my mother and father. They used to talk about their relatives. So my mother would say, my father would say, yo mama, and she would say, yo mama. And then they go from
Wow.
there, and I was like, dang, so they talk about each other's mama,
yeah, well,
Hey.
brothers, or
I,
sisters. I was like, oh wow, so it's okay to talk about people's mamas and daddies, and And when I did that with one of my
Wow.
husbands, he got real mad. He
Yeah,
was
of
like, "You
course.
talk about my mom." I'm like, I started laughing because I was like, in my family, they talked about your mom. He didn't think it
So you
was
talk about
funny.
boundaries. You know, I used
Yes.
to think my parents were some of the meanest people in the world because other kids would be able to be outside riding their bikes, and I'll have to look out the window. I thought they was having so much fun. I thought my parents was mean. I see these people mean. They make us come in the house.
Yeah. Yes.
So those
Yes.
are boundaries.
Yes, they were.
I mean, I didn't realize it at the time, but those are boundaries. I couldn't stay out,
That's right.
past a certain time unless they was on the porch. That's the only time we could stay out past the
And
street
I
lights, if you
had
want to
them kind
call
of
it that.
parents too. Yep, I had them
Huh?
kind of parents too.
You don't see that. You don't see that no more. These kids just out of order, and I don't know who you blame for that. But I can't. From my household, I couldn't just do anything. I couldn't, or I had to suffer the consequences. I could
That's
now that
right.
looking back on stuff. I told you I thought my parents was mean. So we had chores. Not this. I would just do this right. I gotta tell this story. So we had chores on the refrigerator, right? So I knew what my parents knew what we supposed to do Sunday through Monday, right?
Okay.
So one night I decided I was gonna wash the dishes. I believe that Negro waited till 3 o'clock in the morning. He woke me up and said, "Hey man, look, he patted me. I'm sleep. Woke me up, made me wash dishes at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I've done that. I did that
Never
to my
forget.
kids.
I
Yep.
will never forget that. So when I go into somebody's house, I see a sink full of dishes. I think I'm supposed to wash them. I said, "Boy, you ain't at home." I can't stay. I swear to God, my father traumatized me that night as a little boy. So I'm just telling you, I don't know. I'm just saying. So when I look at these houses and these
Yes.
families and stuff now, these
Yes.
children are not being disciplined for some
Nope.
reason. You could blame
Nope.
the mama, you could blame the daddy, but I blame that family that don't discipline their children. I'm gonna leave it at
Hey,
that. Thank you.
hey, but today the children know because of all of the TV and radio and conversations they overhear that you're not supposed to hit them. You're not supposed to physically discipline your children. So then you have little kids, 4 and 5, running around talking about, no, I ain't gonna do that. Nope, and run. You come towards them, they're gone. Where are they getting that? Where are they getting that comfort level in doing and displaying that kind of a behavior? Where?
Well,
They looking
it's
at
got
TV, they looking at YouTube, Twitter. What's the other one? TikTok. All of them.
well.
They getting
My
all of their
mother them.
behavior.
Hey, I think I got punished a couple times. I got the message after that, so I'm just letting you know. So
Yeah,
the Bible even said you spare the rod. What they say?
that's right. Spare the ride. You
What
ride.
what
Spoil the
what
kid.
Bible? All I ask, what Bible all these people read? We got a church literally. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We got a church literally on every corner. I'm trying to figure out what Bible are they reading. That's all. Who y'all? I mean, you can read it for yourself. All that stuff is in there. And I used to hate going to church, but when I started looking back on it, I said, "Wait a minute, that's in there." I said, "Oh, that's in there. That's in there." I'm gonna leave it at that.
Hey, Sandra's
But that's
got
where I'm at.
a hand up. I'm sure she has a comment to something you're saying. And then let me welcome Labette to the show. And Sandra, what you got to say? Your hand is up, girl.
It's sometimes Apple is too smart for its own good. Really is. You know what? When you talk about where parents are and what they're doing with their kids, this what we're seeing now is what was going on when Wanda and I were young women, really young women. We probably were even kind of still teens because I heard about it being a problem, but I didn't think it was a problem because I had both of my grandmothers, I had both of my grandfathers. I was also blessed to have two step grandfathers, one on each side, and I had my mom, my dad, and a host of aunts, great aunts, and great great aunts, and people who, again, were providing information and shelter. We had the opportunity, although we were raised here in Chicago, we spent our summers, half our summers was spent at Northwestern University. We were there for 2 weeks and ran around and hung around with my grandma. And then she sent us to Arkansas for 2 weeks. And we were down there with a whole variety of relatives, some who had and some who had not. Some who were property owners, big time property owners with farms and all kinds of doggone extra work because I was just like Grady was. I thought those people down there were crazy as hell because they'd have you up. And I'm a kid. I'm talking about all I had to do in Chicago was make up my bed. And you talking about I got to do what? And who gets up this early? There's no school. And then again, there were different kinds of restrictions. But when you played, that's the thing. You had the best time because you had total access to everything. Everything. And if you left the farm and went to those that were in the city, it was different. Again, it was a whole lot less work, but there was still restrictions, as you want to call them, boundaries. And by being with a variety of adults who, again, we were all in the same families. I was with my dad's family sometime, and sometimes I was with my mom's family. They rotated where we actually stayed based on the year. One year we stayed with my mom's folks. The next year we came down, we stayed with my dad's folks. But all of them still knew each other and congregated in, again, anywhere from, I guess you would say, we would go from Little Rock would be the main place. That's ground zero. But anywhere else in Arkansas you wanted to go, from all the way up to Fayetteville down to Texarkana, we had relatives, you know. But when you talk about, you need to have parents and grandparents. Like they said, it does take a village to raise your kids. And when you talk about boundaries, sometimes your kids shouldn't hear all these conversations. I'm a very modern mother, but I did not allow my daughters to hear all the conversations that were being had about various subjects and various people, because sometimes young people are too young to process that. And they start doing stuff and formulating opinions and all kinds of other crazy mess because they shouldn't have been in that conversation. We were always taught what little eyes have big ears and all that stuff. And some things you just didn't, like you said, you just didn't have the conversation there. You send the kids outside. Another thing is, I don't believe in corporal punishment. I saw my cousins get the hell beat out of them, and I didn't have that problem because, I mean, matter of fact, my grandmother was very clear. She used to say that chocolate one and that other little yellow one, when they get down there, you better not put your hands on them because they didn't have to whip us up here. That was never a requirement to get us to comply. But down there, I really felt like they beat kids just because they could beat kids and get away with it. Some of them, and then they didn't understand why I didn't mess with them. I didn't mess with them when I was a kid. I would stand way back and go, and these are mostly my grandmother's, my maternal grandmother's people, because my paternal grandmother, they didn't have a lot of kids. So we were like, we were treated like golden children because they didn't have kids. And for my dad to have 2 kids, many of them did not have children. That was a very small family, very small in contrast to my mother's people. And when they would get down there and start slinging switches and lining up kids, I would go find my grandmother and back all the way up into her. And me and my sister both, we'd be standing there and I'd be trying to say, I want to go, I want to leave. You know?
Wait a minute.
I'm trying to get the best thing smoking up out of here because, I mean, they started whipping. It was like, if you were there, you were guilty, you know. And that traumatized kids. Yeah, my cousins traumatized because they talk about it, just like you said, about being traumatized because they had to get up and watch this. I had one cousin, she's a great or second cousin. We didn't do all that great second once, remove all that. We just knew they were cousins. She actually, what she did for her kid, and I don't remember if it was a son or a daughter, which one, she actually, when they didn't clean that kitchen and she came in and found that kitchen dirty, she didn't go in there and say nothing. She went in there and started whipping. She whipped them out the bed all the way up into there. Hey, they had to get that kitchen together. And then they had to get ready for school the next day or church or whatever. And I kept saying, oh my God, that's cruel.
Okay. Let's thank you, Sandra. We gotta let Vet say. I know she got something to say about her family because you know she did homeschooling, and her family, they probably had a different dynamic because those kids were at Garfield Park all the time and all these different programs. So I wonder how her story, she just fell off. How her story compared to yours, Sandra, or to mine. or to yours, Lawanza. You know, it's like we got so many different boundaries, but I don't think a lot of times people recognize those boundaries.
Well, I'm gonna tell you about some boundaries now. The ones
Okay.
I'm concerned about the most, and these ain't no youngins, who can't do too much damage. Being
Now, see, I'm trying not
nosy,
to do that. Okay.
being nosy, getting off into your business all the time, following you, watching where you going, saying things about you that ain't true, don't even know you, got a problem with who you are. Why? Because they ain't minding their own business. That's the boundary. These are the sort of problems that I face out here, here in public. Just now, I went to do something for uh, president of the company I work for. So I tried to make a copy and send them stuff. So I had to go to UPS. Now there's some two young ladies, it can't be teenagers or something. And I just
Yeah.
walked past them like, just some teenagers. And then I decided to go to Brown Sugar over there and get me some, chocolates and cheesecake, and I went back and people monitoring, watching you and stuff like that. When I done left the damn house, when I leave this out the door, go to where I'm going, and then coming back up, I got eyeballs watching you. And people on the cell phones even make it worse, see, because then they relay this shit to one person after another. I dealt with that where I used to live at. Now I get that over here in the new place. I'm gonna move, I
Oh,
want to go
so did they cross your boundaries? I mean, so
Yes, crossing your
invaded your
boundary.
boundaries.
If they, yeah, sit up here watching you, where you going, what you doing, running around saying things about you, probably don't even know nothing about you. If that ain't invasion of privacy, invading one's privacy and not minding one and getting into your business and trying to find what you open to, if that's not an invasion, if that's not a boundary problem, I don't know what is.
Come on, Levette. Thank you so much, Lawanza. Levette, give us an example of boundaries that you have seen people just ignore. Just ignore the boundaries. What's happened to you, Levette?
I'm thinking,
Oh,
because it's weird. I was looking at this documentary today on Mali and how
on modeling?
in an African country.
Oh, okay. Mali.
And yeah, Mali. And for some reason they started talking about their principles, and that they were the first society to declare a social order. What should be done in families? What should be done in your society? What should be done with the environment? And we're dealing with natural resources and stuff. And I was like, wow, that was very important to them at the time, to make sure that nature was taken care of. And so one of the boundaries that they had was not to let your child control you. And so, as you were talking about, children saying no, and I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that, it was just something that was instilled in us, that if you said no, you might be knocked to Kalamazoo. They used to say Timbuktu, and Mali was Timbuktu was part of that dynasty of education and being the first university and all of that. But what was most important is that they laid down every principle
that makes a society successful.
Mhm.
And they were talking about the Magna Carta, the Constitution. These are boundaries that people have to run their society. And so we are in a society that the boundaries have been broken.
Mhm.
Because if you have people in authority that's breaking the law, what makes other people feel like they need to follow the law?
Right.
So I think it's more important that we have some control or some sanctity over what rules us, not as just a country, but in a society, but as a community.
Mhm.
So we got a lot of work to do, but you got to lead by example. You
Mhm.
can't just, think that children are not watching.
They
They're
watch
watching
everything.
everything you do, and
Every
then some.
yes.
So you got television that say for instance, what's that television show that was about Chicago and had Taraji in it and
Empire.
Empire. So what did Empire do but throw a gay scene, two men kissing?
Oh,
You don't even have an opportunity to say turn your head. You don't have to be against everything, but that sort of broke the rules for me. I stopped watching. Not that I don't give a damn about people being gay and doing what they do, but that should be a
why tell them?
lesson. That should be a
I'm
lesson.
laughing.
It should be a lesson that the parent teaches the child, not television where it's just in your face. You don't even have a chance to explain it.
Right.
Just nothing.
And
And
I'm
so
sure the children, I'm sure a lot of children saw that or have seen those kind of interactions on the television, YouTube. I mean, that's
it's
my,
like, where's the
that's what they watch.
morality?
Right.
Right. It's like, where's the morality? And
So
that,
the question is, so who's pushing this? Because I got some people like that in my family,
Right.
but I look at them as my siblings or my, you know what I'm saying? I don't, long as they don't push that on me, I'm
Right.
good with it because I got, I say I got a niece, she's like that. And I said, she's my niece. I don't look, I don't care what her lifestyle is because
Right.
I don't pay her rent, she don't help me. So I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not,
Yes.
I see it as my niece as a human condition. I don't
Yeah.
see, I mean, maybe it might be some kind of naive not to recognize that because the LGBTQ,
Hey, what's up? How you doing,
they keep
Sharon?
adding numbers or letters. I'm like, I can't keep up with that stuff.
Pretty good.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Well, I think we all probably have somebody in the family who is in that community. And we have to learn how to deal with it. We've had to learn how to deal with it because it's there. That's what they want to do. And who are we to say what kind of lifestyle someone should live? If we spend more time dealing with our lifestyles, then we wouldn't have time to deal with or worry about someone else's. But as far as children are concerned, I agree with whomever said, whichever one of you all said, the boundary, the establishment of boundaries should be laid at home, should be established at home.
I'm sorry. I had to kind of comment on what Levette said about the Mali people.
Yeah.
They came up with a constitution or whatever you want to call it, Magna Carta. That came up with boundaries for the community.
That's
I mean, it's got to be. It's at some point in time. You can't beat up your wife. No,
right.
you can't shoot your neighbor. I mean, you can't.
right.
I
And,
mean, hold on,
and
hold on. Some people,
they said that too. And they said that and then they allowed for divorce. And how did that happen? If your husband was crazy, okay, that was the grounds of divorce. If your wife was crazy, that was the grounds for divorce. If your husband could not financially take care of you, you could divorce him. But you had to go outside of the community. And that was one of the longest established societies until other countries got jealous and tried, destroy, everything has to come to an end. But it was one of the what's his name? Masalu or Mansu. He was the richest.
Oh, Masamula.
Masamula, right? He was the richest person ever, and everything was done in balance and harmony and peace and love, and that's what they exemplified, and that's why they were so successful. And so, and talking about the gay or that kind of lifestyle, my cousin is in his 80s now, and he's still with his guy, and you never saw them hug, kiss, or nothing like that, right? And so one time, my grandson, he said, "You know what? I see them all the time together." He was 12, right? He said, "Are they cousins?" He said, "I know they live together." He said, "Are they cousins or what?" And we had to tell him the truth. We was like, "They're a couple." He almost threw up. But
Little bit. You mean that baby? How old you said that? How old was it? That figured he didn't know what was going on, but he's figured it out. He didn't know what to say. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do you like that. He said, "Are they cousins?" He didn't know what he didn't know what else to respond to.
Right.
That baby, hold on, how old was that baby?
They never showed any signs. But he just wondered because he know they come together and they leave together. So are they cousins? And we just had to tell him the truth. And he was 12 going on 13. And
that's my point.
It didn't affect him so much, but he just really then just respected them as a couple. That level of respect just kicked in. And he just realized
at 12 years old, he saw someone right. I'm just saying that baby saw someone right. I believe it at that.
And he had to act. That night, he needed to know. And he was told, "Sorry, they ain't no cousins." Yeah, one of them is related to us, the other one is not. So anyway.
Oh Lord. So see.
I didn't mean to. So we look at a society. We know we have, we got all kinds of people in our society. But at some point in time, we have to say, no, you can't go to the store and buy liquor, alcohol, whatever from these other nationalities because they're coming in here. They don't give a damn about us. They come in here and get their money. And we have to figure out a way for our society need to say, we're going to spend money with each other.
Yeah.
We go do our cultural thing because as these other people moving here, it's gonna be a mariachi band. I know y'all don't know about no damn mariachi, but you're gonna start hearing a lot of that, and you're gonna say, "That's not our rhythm."
Oh, but hey, wait, listen. I've been listening to some Irish bagpipes because we were at the marathon a couple of months ago, and so they had the bagpipers playing the music.
Okay.
And I told those bagpipers, I said, "Y'all got some soul in that." And so everybody, look, even the mariachi, Mexicans, the Mexican music now has hip hop beats in it. So it's like, look, they show Snoop Dogg getting off the plane in Ireland, and they had this was just yesterday, and they had the bagpipes, and he was juking and jamming because they knew this is the flavor. And that's the whole world. Then you look at Asia, at the